Good morning. It's Saturday, February 27th, 2021, and we're on the fourth and final day of the Mid-Atlantic Quilt Festival online. We didn't know that this time last year we'd be doing this online, but sure enough, here we are. I wanted to say a big thank you for last night's fashion show. Those that pre-registered, and paid to take the fashion show. We think everybody enjoyed it. I want to thank Karen Botte and Rachel Clark. They always do a great job putting that together. So thank you very much. It was a very exciting fashion show online. So we have quite a few things coming up today. I wanted, I just want to make sure that everybody's out there shopping our vendors more than anything. Shop our vendors to support our sponsors. There's a lot of effort. You may not see them, even though they're not loading trucks and going to the loading dock. There's a lot of effort, more than you may think, putting this together virtually. So please make sure that you shop them, shop all our sponsors. Once again, we have two Bernina headquarters down in Virginia. We have a different touch. They're at 1107 South Military Highway in Chesapeake, Virginia. Okay, pretty close to where the Hampton Roads is, and then also make sure to shop Cottonwood, and they're over in Charlottesville, Virginia, at 2035 Barracks Road. So if you're a Bernina buyer, they've got wonderful shops. They have more than just machines. Please support our two Bernina headquarters going on right now in Virginia. Okay, we have an exciting day coming up. I sat down a few days back with Meg Cox. She's a New Jersey resident right over here by Princeton, and we had a great conversation. Meg is a quilting journalist, so it seems like the industry never ends, and so there's so many things. She's written several books. She teaches and lectures all around the country. She has a lot of things going on. Her specialty is family traditions and quilting. And so what I'm going to do here is we're going to give you a message from our sponsor, Cottonwood, Bernina Cottonwood, and then we're going to go right into our interview with Meg Cox.
I'm Mary Humphrey, owner of Cottonwood Quilt Shop. I've been in business since 1994 and have been participating in the Mid-Atlantic Quilt Festival for 27 years. We offer the full line of Bernina and Bernette machines and accessories, including the Q16, Q20, and Q24. With over 3,500 bolts of fabric, mostly designer cottons, wools, rayons, knits, and linen, we offer classes in machine mastery, quilting, and beginning sewing. Come in soon.
Hello, Meg. How are you?
I'm great. Good morning. How are you?
Okay, great to see you, even though it's through the screen. So, tell me where are you right now?
I am in my basement in Princeton, New Jersey, and this half of my basement is my office, and then my quilt studio is right over there.
This is all sounding very familiar, like Jimmy Kimmel, like broadcasting out of the basement in his house in Los Angeles, So
it's how we live now.
Through this long, cold winter, but don't worry, spring's right around the corner. So I know you're not originally from Princeton. I understand you're originally from Ohio, and that you have a very interesting background in journalism as a young woman. Can you tell us a little bit about how you ended up where you are now and your journalism background?
Sure. So I grew up in the Cleveland area and family going way back. And so my very, very first journalism job was at a teeny tiny newspaper in Central Ohio, and they needed a farm editor. But I went from there to the Wall Street Journal. They hired me in 1977. I was 24 years old. And originally to cover commodities markets, and then I covered agriculture and all kinds of things. I think you have a picture of me in a very, very old-fashioned typewriter before computers.
That's amazing, but it wasn't really that long ago that we didn't have all this technology and all those computers. So it was the move from with the Wall Street Journal that took you from the farm to the city.
Absolutely. So I worked in Chicago, in the Chicago Bureau for 6.5 years, and then they transferred me to New York City, which is how I came east to do the job of my life. They wanted a reporter to cover the business of the arts. And so I wrote, oh my God, all kinds of things. I wrote about the Rockettes, and I wrote about opera, and I spent a day with Frank Zappa. And, it was really fun. It was a really, really great beat. And then I covered book publishing. I covered the music business. So it was a wonderful, wonderful career, 17 years.
Wow, that is a wonderful career. And then is it at that time that you settled in New Jersey?
Yes, I married a guy who had ties to Princeton, although we met in New York. We both worked in New York. And I had a kid at 40, and I said, I want to write books. That's like kind of a lifelong dream of mine. I want to write books. And the first couple were about family traditions and celebrations, which was really great fun. But then I was becoming more and more a passionate quilter. And I thought, I wonder if there is a journalist's book about quilting and what's going on in the quilt world now. And then once I went down into that rabbit hole, man, it took over my life.
So when did you start quilting? How were you introduced to it?
Well, through my mother. My mother was an artist, and she's the person who taught me to sew when I was a little girl, and I made all my clothes. But she didn't discover quilting until her 60s. And then she loved it so much, I asked her to teach me. And so she cut out my first quilt and gave it to me in a cute little basket. And, once I did one, I was hooked. So she was great. This quilt behind me is one of my mother's quilts that I inherited.
Yeah, very modern, very. I like.
No, it's like from 30 years old.
Yeah,
30 years ago.
I like the contrast. Yeah, the contrast is very nice. Black and white is unusual. So you evolved into quilting, but you really never gave up your journalism. We could see that for sure. But before we go on to that, do you have any? Can you show us any of your quilts or your favorites?
Sure. I'm like a lot of quilters. I try different things, and what I do now is very different from what I've done in the past. And when my mother taught me, it was cheating to use a sewing machine. Oh, dear Lord. Thank God we got over that. So, but I've changed over the years, and there are a couple things that are kind of, my style. And one is because I am a word girl, I put a lot of words in quilts. So, I have something really simple here. I sometimes just do quilts that are words. And this is just the word life. This is from a workshop that I taught. So it's got some, embellishment in it and stuff. I love to put photographs in quilts. So I've also taught very simple classes doing, photos of quilts. That's my parents on their wedding day. But in the last couple of years, I lost my husband 5 years ago, and I've been making memorial quilts, and that, it took a lot of time before I could even cut into them, but then it became very therapeutic, and I made a series of them. And I think you have a photograph of one that I also have here. I made one for myself that was very kind of improv and lots of scraps and just sort of just building it up, block by block. I really enjoyed doing that. That was really fabulous. And then I think you also have a picture. This is here. I can sort of show you a close up if that will work for you. Sort of see there's a lot of shirts in there.
It's sort of a shattered log cabin.
Yeah, you know what? You could say that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's been really important to me. And I just finished one. I'm about to take it to Washington to my stepdaughter. This one is very different. This one I think you also have a picture of, but it's kind of leaf shapes, and all of these are shirts. It's kind of a modern pattern, and it's got New York fabric on the back because that's where I met him, and he loved New York. And nice. But it's been such a, I don't know, much more satisfying than I ever would have expected. Just kind of very profound experience. So highly recommend it.
How you've worked your grief, your personal grief through your art, which is I think very, very impressive and not the easiest thing to do, to get to. And I'm sure that you had some quilting block play on words, or talent block, trying to get into things like this. So you've kept this parallel of quilting and journalism, and which is very interesting. I don't know too many people that do that. I don't know if I know anyone else that does that. And so I know a lot of the focus is on family and
Right.
quilting.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about that. Tell us about also your newsletter, how you put this out on a newsletter.
Right. Well, I did a book that came out around 2008. Took years of research and deep research and talking to tons of experts and quilters and all of that. And about the time the book came out, I wanted to have a way to connect to people, and I decided I'll start doing this newsletter. So I've been doing it for over 12 years now, and for a long time, it's been called Quilt Journalist Tells All, which I thought was a fun title for it. And it really is like you said, there are not a lot of people who are saying, I'm going to do a journalist take on what's going on in quilting. So it's like, I got to know all the top movers and shakers and quilt teachers and also the business movers and shakers through doing this book. And I just built on that. So it's like, if I want to do something on the latest trends, I know who to talk to. If I want to do something about the economy of things, how the business is going, I know who to talk to. I talk about the books that I think are the most exciting, the museum exhibitions that I think are exciting. I just try and introduce people to things, but I try and do it in a kind of a concise way where I'm giving you information. You can just read that and get a lot out of it, but there are all these links. So if you want to go into it deeper, here's where you go into it deeper, or here's what my source is. And so it's, I really do carry over my journalistic, kind of skills and training from the Wall Street Journal. I take it very seriously.
It sounds like the morning newsletter when you get on your computer and you start cleaning off the New York Times and
well, it's only once a month, but right. The love I get from my subscribers is awesome. They just say, well, nobody else is doing this. And I know, I get really excited when I see this in my inbox. You don't always hear that. So.
All right. So I noticed you used the word subscriber. So how does one go about reading Meg Cox's newsletter?
Well, it's at my website, which is megcox.com. And right on the homepage, there's a button to subscribe. And there's also a previous newsletter so they can, look at it. My format, Constant Contact retired my format. So it's all in a single column now. Used to be side-by-side columns, but right. So they can sample it and see what they think. And it's free. So
very nice. So you could just go on, you could register and you could get your newsletter. How often do you publish the newsletter?
It's just once a month, and usually toward the end of the month. And I always have giveaways too. I mean, for 8 years at least, Moto was my sponsor, and I give away, a huge fat quarter bundle. I am about to switch sponsors, and I haven't announced yet who that is, but it's another fabric company. So, lots more goodies for people.
Very nice. That's nice. So it sounds like you've really wrapped yourself around this. You've got the sponsors backing you. You've got a wonderful website, by the way. I've been on it.
Oh, thank you.
Very, very nice. And so I also noticed when I was on there that you I don't know about workshops, but you certainly have a number of lectures to offer.
Yes.
I think we might even have some images of you lecturing both on site and maybe even now the new way of lecturing over Zoom. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, again, it's really fun when I go to guilds because I do something a little different. A lot of times you go to a guild lecture and if it's not a workshop, this is my artist journey, or I'm going to show you my technique. Mine is more kind of informational, coming from a different place. So one of them is behind the scenes of the world's greatest quilt museum, and it's all about the International Quilt Museum. I'm on the advisory board, and that's been super popular. I give all the money I make to the museum. I've just been doing that since September. And I've made over $5,000 for them. So I do that. I do one talk that's literally called Quilt Journalist Tells All. And it is, these fact things, what are the trends? I start with a quiz, and then, when the guild members get them right, they win a fat quarter, fabric. I throw those out into the audience when I'm doing it live. I have to, put it in the mail for Zoom.
Okay.
But so I have quite a few on my website, and I enjoy adding them. I should say one other one that I really love, which combines my kind of previous life as a traditions expert, is a lecture called Making Meaning: How Quilters Celebrate Life. And that is something I started doing when I realized how much quilts and quilting helped me with grief, with losing my husband. I just built a whole lecture around how we can use ritual to celebrate life. And that I think quilters are really just gifted at this.
Very nice. Well, you've got my ear, and so I'm gonna right now invite you to do a Zoom lecture at one of our upcoming online quilt festivals.
Oh, I'd love to do that.
I think there's going to be a few more, and even at that, I think even when we get back on site at some of our festivals, I think there's going to be definitely on site and virtual things going on. So I know that you had. You had called me not too long ago, working on your upcoming newsletter, having to do with the COVID quilt economy. Like what's going on in the economy of quilting. And I know you've probably spoken with a few other show managers or organizations and other people. And I found it very interesting that you were looking into that. So. What is your take? Because I know you and I had a nice discussion about this.
Yeah.
What is your take? What did you come away with when you after you interviewed all these people? If you could give us an idea where.
I start at the beginning and I say there's winners and losers. Because there are some people, surprisingly, maybe a lot of sectors in quilting are doing great during COVID because quilters have this time to go through their stash. They've been making a ton of masks. The sewing machine market is so heated up. I mean, Walmart went back when the lockdown started, they went from 100 days of supply of sewing machines to 5 days in 24 hours. I mean, it was like that instantaneous. So I talked to quilt shop owners whose business is up 30%, 40%, they don't even put it in the shelves anymore. It's like, people are just so eager for the product. And, there are other things that are very hard to do. And the hardest thing, as you know, is gathering together, whether it's the size of the guild or these big shows like yours that we all miss so much. So I talked to people about how they're, filling in that gap, and how they're choosing to do that is, differs from a company to company. I think you guys have been very creative, and you're doing successful virtual shows with, a lot of workshop participation, and you were, out ahead of the curve on that. Some people are not so far along the curve. I'm still surprised that the AQS people they just canceled the whole year, and then they didn't sort of backfill with virtual shows. They are just now putting up more, new fresh workshops with the kind of talent that, people know from their shows. So, that's a little scary. You can't predict who's going to be standing, but kind of to end on an upbeat note, what I was hearing, including from Abby Glassenberg at the Craft Industry Alliance, is that we're going to come out better. She said it's like you're exercising and we built new muscles. And so we're going to come out of this. And, the exercising part wasn't fun. You would agree with that. But we're going to come out stronger. There's going to be more sewists. There's going to be more quilters. And the companies that are still standing are going to benefit from that. And, for myself as a quilter and other quilters, there are a lot of things that have been really great. That time to sew, that passion about sewing, for me personally, Zoom is like, I can barely keep up with the demand for my lectures, and that, it wasn't like that before. Mm-hmm. So that's been very positive. And to your point about, when we get back together and how it is going to get better. For the first time yesterday, I got a request from a guild, I think they're in Kansas, saying, we want to hire you in December. And if it ends up being that we can have you live, we want you to do 2 lectures instead of 1. But that's the first time they've said, it's either or, we'll wait and see. The rest have just all been Zoom. Right.
It's interesting. I like the analogy of the building new muscles. And
Yeah.
we actually are having a lot of fun with what we're doing. I know you said I might not think it's fun, but we've done some crazy things with our filming and our broadcasting, and it's becoming a bit fun. I don't mean to slight it. It is a terrible thing that's going on, and I've also noticed that those that work on it, particularly our challenge is to keep our vendors going, keep our sponsors going. We have, as you know, we have Bernina of America as a major sponsor, always helping out. They were on in the beginning when we first started 32 years ago, and they're still at it. They're still supporting us. We're now doing our third competition, as you know, and we're going to have another one in the spring. So it's been very interesting how many people are taking workshops, how many vendors are still want to participate, even though it's virtual. And for sure, how many people, in general, just really follow us and follow our live broadcast like we're doing now. And it's been interesting, but I think that analogy is great. Definitely gave us some different muscles. Pardon. So,
Okay.
so I, that really did work out well, that way. And I've noticed that the ones that put in the biggest effort seem to be doing well. But I agreed, after looking at everything, I agree with you also on how some people are just taking a wait and see instead. They're going to wait. They're going to wait till we're back, back in the swim on site shows.
Right. And who's to say I hope we don't lose any of these major companies. I know that but I was told, like in the quilt shop arena, there are even people opening shops during the pandemic. There have been, and the ones that have closed are often people who can't adapt to these changes. Whereas, Heidi Kassan, who's got a brick and mortar store and also owns American Quilt Retailer, she's doing Facebook Lives, and everything is so, it's just targeted and it's thoughtful. So it's like, okay, let's have the Schmetz needle person, and we're going to do a demo about, when to change your needles and what kind of needles, whatever, on a Facebook Live. So it's like, that's information, that's education, that's free. And then when you go to their Facebook page, it also says, hey, do you need any needles? Click here, we'll take care of that, and hey, next time you're in the store, we're going to give you a free booklet on different kinds of needles. So it's that, what Mark Hyland says, if you have a good model for customer service, that's what's going to make all the difference.
Excellent. That's an excellent take on it, and that's for sure. Okay, so this has been quite an interesting interview. We really appreciate you joining us. If you like, if anyone would like to take a lecture or sign up or find out where you're lecturing, I'm going to assume they go to megcox.com.
Yeah, they go to megcox.com, and they can just write me at meg@megcox.com.
Very good. Okay, so we certainly wish you the best of luck. We look forward to having you do a lecture with us. And was anything else you'd like to add?
Well, just maybe put in a plug for, if I can find it, for Quilt Folk magazine. That I think a lot of people know Quilt Folk. I've been a staff writer for the last couple of years, and it's every issue is a deep dive into the quilt culture of one state. And we have somehow managed to keep reporting and writing during the pandemic. It's a wonderful magazine. So just to put that out there as well.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I'm back. That was really a fun interview with Meg Cox. She's got the most interesting background. Her journalism background as a young person is absolutely amazing. She has a natural gift of gab, and I've been told that people just can't shut me up. So it went pretty well. So I wanted to mention to everyone, just like cable television or network television in these days of quarantine, everyone is shooting out virtually instead of interviewing people live and what have you. So we do come up with some technical glitches. We've had a few. We apologize for that. We appreciate everyone's patience. We had two presentations earlier in the week that we want to. We've cleaned them up as you can see, as you will see, and we're going to play them as Facebook premieres only. And there's two of them that you can view on Facebook only today as premieres. One's coming right up here at 11 a.m. It's called Ask Adele. Okay, and then there'll be another one at 5:30 p.m. with Lyric Montgomery Kennard. We had some technical difficulties during both of those, so you have a chance to see them without all of that mess. There is a lot other things going on today. Diana McCurry at our office has a very busy day. She has an interview with Marge Tucker. She has a studio tour with Esther Rita Austin. I'll be back, of course, with Quilts of Valor. We have 3 wonderful veterans that we'll be presenting to, and then we'll wrap it up this evening with a little thank you. Okay, then, signing off.